Hello, everybody, and welcome to Escape the Galaxy, the Escapist brand new Star Wars-centric show. My name is Marty Sleva. I'm one of your hosts. My favorite Star Wars moment of all time comes near the end of Return of the Jedi with Vader and Luke in the Emperor's throne room, and Vader tells Luke, if you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. That moment still gives me chills to this very day.
Hi, I'm Rachel Kaiser, and I'm another writer at The Escapist, and I'm another one of your hosts, and my favorite Star Wars moment of all time is, I love you, I know. Both of them.
So I am Omar Ahmed, and I'm the lead media producer here at The Escapist. I work on In the Frame, and I work on The Escapist Show and the documentaries. And I was under the impression that we could do personal anecdotes as well. And so my personal Star Wars anecdote is when I saw The Force Awakens, which came out on my 21st birthday. And I saw it the day it came out, and I ordered a drink, and this was at the Alamo Draft House. And
yes!
Yeah, it's a great place. But I ordered a drink, and the guy there, instead of asking me for my ID, he was like, when's your birthday? And I said, today. And he refused to serve me a drink.
Oh my god, that's heartbreaking.
Why?
Well, he was like, this jackass.
Oh, he thought you were not being serious?
Yeah, I mean, we sorted it out later, and I got my 21st birthday drink. But at the moment, he was just like, ugh.
That was the second saddest moment of the night, the first being when Han Solo died for you 2 hours later. That was also a bummer.
Yeah. Well, no, the
I mean, let Omar be the judge of which one of those was sadder.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, this is Escape the Galaxy. This is the Escapist's brand new Star Wars-centric show. If you've seen our other show, A Marvelous Escape, where Casey and Jack and Darren every week dig through the latest episode of whatever's premiered in the MCU, this is going to be a very similar format, obviously centered on Star Wars. And we're going to be starting next week with the premiere of The Bad Batch, the new animated series on Disney+. And so that'll be our first big sort of meaty episode where we're talking about what happened in the extended episode, our predictions for what's going forward. For this first episode, I kind of want to just start on what's everyone's temperature for the current state of Star Wars, because a lot has happened in the last couple of years, including Omar not being served a beverage on his 21st birthday, and also a lot is planned for the next couple of years.
I mean, I think I think they're making a big play for TV, well, streaming services, I should say, and shows rather than movies. And I think that is smart because I think the investment in movies being as expensive as they are, that hasn't, it's not that it hasn't paid off for them. It's just that it hasn't paid off for them perhaps in goodwill. So I think going for more niche projects like they are with the Disney Plus shows, I think that shows a much better understanding of fans than I think the movies have for the last little while. So I'm excited. I think the shows that we're going to get are going to be just amazing.
Yeah, I've been pretty hot and cold on Star Wars lately. There's some things that I really liked. I liked a few of the movies. A lot of it I didn't like. A lot of it just was kind of meh to me. So I don't really know what to expect going into this. I have my own thoughts on like The Bad Batch already. But, I mean, we can get into that later. I was a big fan of the Clone Wars, but that was before Disney. And so, yeah, I just don't really know what to expect or how to expect anything from Star Wars. So, yeah, I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah, Star Wars' history with Disney has been strange. I think a lot of people feel pretty middle of the road about Force Awakens. The Last Jedi is a super polarizing movie. I love it. I know a lot of people who absolutely hate it. And then I feel like The Rise of Skywalker, as more time passes, I think that's just like such a kind of dud of a finale. And then we got, Solo, which was strange, and Rogue One, which I loved. But yeah, when we mentioned that we have a lot of Star Wars stuff in the works, there is a lot. I have a list in front of me. There are, at the very least, 11 Disney Plus series in the works and 5 movie projects. Now, whether all of these actually come to fruition, who knows? But listing them off really quick, we have The Bad Batch, we have The Book of Boba Fett coming later this year, Visions, the animated shorts coming later this year, Mando Season 3, the Obi-Wan show, the Cassian Andor show, the Ahsoka show, the Rangers of the New Republic, a Lando show, the Acolyte, which is a High Republic show by the creator of Russian Doll, A Droid Story, which is a kid-centric cartoon. And then in the movie front, we have Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman's Rogue Squadron, Taika Waititi from Thor Ragnarok. He has a movie in the works. Rian Johnson, still in theory, has a trilogy in the works. Kevin Feige has a movie that he is producing. Kevin Feige, the mastermind behind the MCU. And J.D. Dillard, an indie movie director, has also been announced to have a Star Wars movie. So that is a lot.
I think Disney has never met a character they couldn't overexpose. I mean, that's how many fan favorite characters we're getting shows on now. Mm-hmm. Lando, Boba Fett, Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Who am I missing?
Yeah. No, seriously, it's kind of overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though to be fair, overindulging Star Wars fans has been a staple of the series for decades. Yeah, look at any Wikipedia page, and so
okay,
not too surprising that they're like, there's an audience for all this.
Okay, fair. That didn't really start with Disney.
Yeah. It is definitely interesting, like you mentioned, Rachel, that the it seems like there is a very strong pivot to Disney Plus. A majority of those things I mentioned were Disney Plus series that are all, they're possible to have season 2s and 3s. You saw how huge The Mandalorian is. I think it's probably safe to say The Mandalorian is the most universally beloved Star Wars thing of this Disney era.
I wonder why that is.
How many Grogus have we spotted in frame yet?
This is like an I Spy video, by the way. Yeah. Like, spot all the Grogus in the room.
Yeah. Is there a plural for Grogai?
Grogai?
Yeah.
I would just, it's kind of like Joy-Con. The plural of Grogu is Grogu.
Is Grogu. I love it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Which of those, I guess to both of you, which of those things I mentioned are you most looking forward to? Like what future Disney project, future Star Wars project?
I think personally the Acolyte. Out of all of that, just because it's going to explore something that hasn't been explored visual or like cinematically yet in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a new time period. Though I think it's supposed to be the end of the High Republic. I actually haven't read any of the High Republic books or comics, but I just like the idea of new, different Star Wars. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, same.
I want to see where, I promise this is not just because I love Grogu, but I really want to see Mando season 3 because the story is drifting away from this, central narrative of single adoptive dad protecting his offspring and trying to figure out their place in the universe. It's becoming more connected to the Star Wars overarching story, and I really want to see where they go with that, because up to now those characters have been sort of isolated from the rest of the galaxy, for lack of a better word, and now they're starting to join the rest of civilization, and I want to see where that goes. I also want to see how long they can last before they put Grogu back in the show.
Should we take bets on that's like gotta be?
I think he'll be in the first episode.
I think he'll be in the first episode, and he'll be back in Mando's hands within three episodes. I would say.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
We're calling it now. If it happens, we win.
Yeah. It is interesting. You mentioned how you like the fact that it's connecting connecting the Mandalorian more so back into the greater Star Wars universe, which, we got a lot of with season 2 with returning characters from the Clone Wars, as well as Ahsoka, and obviously who appears at the very end of the final episode of The Mandalorian. And it seems to me like Disney realized that with the MCU, they could create this intricate web that keeps folding in on itself, and that will just get people deeper and deeper into the franchises. So I'm curious if that's the route they're going to go with these Star Wars projects is, have characters from the show constantly interacting with things from the movie and the other shows and vice versa, or if they're going to try to actually keep things, separate, like if this Acolyte show is going to be just its own thing.
Well, I think with The Mandalorian, the thing was that was so overwhelmingly popular that there are a lot of people who are now into the Star Wars universe, the non-film universe that probably weren't before. So there are probably a lot of people who are getting into this who will not have watched the Clone Wars, so they wouldn't know who Bo-Katan is, for example. And Well, I just mean like they wouldn't know who she was. They wouldn't know like what the greater Mandalorian conflict is. So this is actually a way of also easing new viewers into the larger Star Wars universe that they might not know of if they've just seen the movies.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, Omar, how do you feel about that? Are you a fan of everything has to connect to everything else, or I mean, you mentioned the Acolyte before.
Yeah, I'm personally not. I was not a fan of every character in Mandalorian season 2 getting their own spin-off.
Well, not all of them.
Fair.
One's definitely not getting their own spin-off.
But I'm pretty cynical about it. I think they're going to keep pushing all these characters just because you have to keep reminding the audience that these characters... I mean, this goes into one of my predictions for The Bad Batch, but I have a feeling that, Disney created an animatronic of Hondo Inaka, and they haven't put him in Mandalorian yet. And so they're going to have to remind people that he exists in every show that they make, just so that they can have people show up at the theme park and be like, oh my God, it's that character from the show.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, they're definitely going to just shove every character down your throat in every show. Even in The Acolyte, there's no way they're not going to put Yoda is part of the High Republic, right?
Yeah. I think he's old enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned the Bad Batch. Let's jump into that. So, sort of as a refresher, who the Bad Batch are, they have an interesting journey to. Ultimately, the first 4 episodes of the final season of the Clone Wars, which aired last spring. The first 4 episode arc was all about the Bad Batch, but they kind of came into existence like 4 years prior. Disney was or Star Wars, they were originally going to make a new season of the Clone Wars, and they said that this first arc was going to be the Bad Batch. They showed the first episode, and then the Clone Wars series was canceled. And so all we had were the first episode and then these rough animatronics and sort of previs what this episode would have looked like and who the Bad Batch were. And everyone just assumed well, this will just go away and become like Star Wars legend. But no, they got brought back and officially part of the Star Wars canon. And sort of the best way I think to describe them is they're kind of like the Star Wars version of like the Dirty Dozen or Suicide Squad. I think that's what I'd say.
Yeah. It was actually like George's idea. George Lucas. Sorry, I'm on a first name.
Oh,
basis
first name basis, huge.
Oh,
After
wow.
you didn't get that 21st birthday drink, you just wrote a strongly worded letter to George.
I summer on the ranch.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. But it was
Look
George
at Omar
Lucas's
flexing
idea.
over here.
Oh yeah. It was George Lucas's idea for the Bad Batch, and he specifically wanted to have like a clone version of the Dirty Dozen as kind of a spin on them. I'm pretty sure it was them like riffing on the idea of putting the Republic Commandos more in the show, and then let's do our own kind of thing on that, more in line with like the film influences of the original Star Wars,
Yeah, and they're I think the characters are neat because it's they immediately introduce and they feel like characters that would be in like a co-op shooter. They almost feel like they would be like 4 Overwatch characters. Like, you have Hunter, who's the leader, who kind of is like a Kurt Russell crossed with John Rambo. You have Wrecker, who's like the giant tank. He's like kind of dumb, but he just beats droids to death with his hands. Tech, who's like the sort of he's
support class.
Yeah, he's the brains of the operation. And then you have Crosshair, who's like the Raphael, the Ninja Turtle, but a deadly sniper.
I would not have made that connection, but yeah, now that you say it, yeah.
This is just secretly a Ninja Turtle. This is actually just a Ninja Turtle podcast, so sorry. I don't know if you guys signed up for this. Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
But I won't say no to the Ninja Turtles.
These guys are literally just Team Fortress 2 characters.
Yes, I mean, yeah, literally.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, but their whole thing is that they were purposely made as defective clones in order to sort of have these mutations and augmentations that make them different from the standard clones that you see throughout Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars. So not only they look different, they sound different. They're of different sizes. They have different hair. They have different personalities. And so and they're named. The Clone Force 99 is like their official name, and then the Bad Batch is their kind of alliterative code name. But Clone Force 99 after 99, who was a clone that appeared in earlier episodes of the Clone Wars, who was like the defective clone. He was kind of like, he was like an older man, like a crippled, and they kind of just made him the janitor. But then, you know, he ended up sacrificing his life, and he had this really heroic death. And so they named themselves Clone Force 99 kind of in honor of him, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. I was like 99 as a character. Such an interesting idea to throw that in there.
Yeah, and their arc in season 7 was they were brought in because they realized the Separatists somehow found a way to kind of algorithmically predict what the clones would do in battle after having fought them so many times. And so their tactics started, you know, they would backfire. Like the clones couldn't make any progress in this battle. And so they brought in this group of sort of renegade clones who couldn't be, you know, predicted. Their actions were so strange and unique that this algorithm couldn't predict it. And it turned out that the algorithm was being drawn from Echo, the clone who was taken prisoner, you know, long before that. And so the arc had them rescuing Echo, and ultimately ended with Echo choosing to go with them as opposed to just going back and becoming, you know, going with the rest of the clones and finishing out the Clone Wars. So yeah, that kind of leads us to where we are with the Bad Batch starting. And I guess I want to talk about what our thoughts are on this as a show. The fact that, like, the Bad Batch, you know, originally in that last season of the Clone Wars, they were only the focus of the first 4 episodes, but obviously they have their own series now. And so what do you guys think? How do you feel about that?
So my thoughts on the Bad Batch, just based on like I honestly have no idea what they're gonna do with this show, because I hate these characters.
Yeah.
And
oh no!
I think that these characters
are so weeks talking about them.
I hate these characters, and I think that they're so shallow that I have no idea what you could do in a show centered around them, besides like show other interesting parts of the universe with them as like the vessel taking us through. Especially with like, oh my god, a 70-minute first episode about these guys. God.
I mean, they gotta catch us up, I guess, on all that complicated backstory.
They're
you know
complicated.
What? I felt a very similar way a little over a decade ago, and I told myself, why would anyone ever want to watch a show about a bunch of self-absorbed Madison Avenue ad executives throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s? And I was wrong. I'm going to be honest. I was wrong. I did want to watch that show.
I was sold on the premise of Mad Men, but
that
not so much.
Feel like a fair comparison, Dan.
Not so much with. I don't think you can compare Don Draper to Hunter.
Well, we'll see.
Well,
we'll see.
Okay. But go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think I see what you're getting at, Omar. That it's not. I mean. It's not like we're being introduced to, I mean, because Mad Men, completely new idea, and it sounded odd. It sounds weird, but, you know, it sounds unusual enough that we can be sold on the premise alone, whereas the Bad Batch, we know who the Bad Batch are. It's not like a mystery that we've been like, oh, I wonder what these, you know, defective clones are going to, like, no, we know how they operate, and we know who they are. So, you know, we're building a show around people we've already seen, so I think it's fair to say, you know, I've seen, you know, we've already gotten a gauge of what the show is going to look like, and if you're not already sold on these characters, the show's going to have an upward battle.
Yeah,
I mean, they're very. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Omar.
I was just gonna say they're very one-dimensional. Exactly, we know exactly how these characters operate, what they're gonna be like in this show, and I just can't see myself getting engaged in a show like this. But I mean, you never know.
I completely agree with you based on how we saw them in those 4 episodes of season 7. I mean, they are, like, you made the joke about Team Fortress, but like it's kind of not a joke. Like they kind of just are Team Fortress classes. But the thing about the show, and I think what's gonna propel it and ultimately make them interesting characters, is that I'm assuming it's going to pick up right after we left off with them. And we left off with them right before Order 66. And which I think the way the show portrayed it has been great. Order 66 has become one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars, just because it feels like with every new piece of media that takes place during that same time period, like we got with Jedi Fallen Order, the game, we see it from a different point of view. and it kind of adds layers to this tapestry of this like absolutely devastating and crucial events for everything we've come to know in Star Wars. And ultimately, like, because of their, malfunctions or defections or whatever you want to call them, mutations, clearly they're going to have a problem with Order 66. And so while everyone else, every other clone in the galaxy is gunning down their Jedi, I'm assuming the show is going to be about them refusing to and ultimately going on the run. And so you're going to have this batch of clones. Again, this is just what I think the show will be about, on the run from the brand new infantile galactic empire, probably going around the galaxy trying to find other clones who might be like them, or other clones that they can pull the chip out and sort of get them to realize that what they're doing is wrong. And I don't know, I think that's exciting for a premise of a series, but I do think that they're going to have to put in the legwork to make us care about these characters in the same way we cared about, the characters from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, their entire character in the 4-episode arc in season 7 is that, we don't like authority, we don't like you regs. And so, I mean, that's just going to be their entire motivation for leaving the Empire, I assume. So
I thought the same way in 1989 when I heard there was going to be a story about 4 teenage mutant ninja turtles who didn't care for authority. I was wrong about that as well.
You ever doubted that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be the best?
I was a baby and I loved it right away. So
you were hyped.
Okay.
Come on,
I was hyped AF as a 2-year-old.
We keep going back to older shows as reference points for this. I mean, I think I like the idea of them like maybe trying to find other clones, because there is that the character in the trailer, Omega, who I'm going to assume is some relation based on the accent, if nothing else, and the fact that I think is Omega male or female?
Omega appears to be female, and so I'm assuming it's a similar thing where, because the clones, when they were birthed or whatever you want to say, they were kind of juiced up and they aged exponentially. So that's how they were able to create an army out of Jango Fett. And Boba was the only one who aged naturally. So it feels like the Omega might be like Boba, where she aged naturally, which is why she's a child.
Right.
I've always wondered why the clones all get Jango Fett's New Zealand accent.
Because accents aren't genetic. It's like a nature. It should be like a Kaminoan accent.
Yeah,
right?
like the Kaminoans don't go around talking like Kiwis. So.
unless as part of like when they put the chip in their heads, they have Jango Fett record some like training messages or something for them so that they pick up on it. I don't know why that would be a thing they would want to do, but honestly at this point I'm not questioning why everybody has a Kiwi accent, why all the clones have a Kiwi accent.
They might literally have like implanted them with like a conscience, and that conscience, instead of being like Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio, was the voice of Tamura Morrison, Jango Fett. So I love this. I think it's great.
I'm not gonna say that them having a Kiwi accent is a bad thing. Just that it doesn't. Just that, there might need to be, if there's a lore explanation for that in the show, then I'll like the show for that reason alone.
Exactly.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
If you answer that question,
tell me why they have Kiwi accents, and I will write the Wikipedia page myself.
Yeah. That's funny. And we do, going back to, how we were talking about earlier about Star Wars becoming like an interconnected universe, or still being an interconnected universe. We know from the trailers so far that we've seen Tarkin is in it. I think it's while he's Admiral Tarkin before he becomes a Grand Moff. Saw Gerrera is going to be in it. And I think most excitingly, Fennec, the bounty hunter from The Mandalorian. So like, that's really cool that they're, further increasing the web by taking a Mandalorian character and bringing them somewhere else, as opposed to The Mandalorian, which has been taking other characters and bringing them into that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, isn't Fennec wanted by the Empire for some reason?
So
that's why she can't drive the truck in that one episode. So I kind of want to see if this expands on that. That's a very thin thread upon which to expand. But you could make
I think it'd be cool
really
though.
Interesting story out of that.
Like if she ends up helping out the Bad Batch at some point, and that is what puts her on the Empire's shit list. Like that's cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm totally expecting Fennec to be like a part of a storyline, or maybe like leading into bringing in all the Empire's interaction with bounty hunters into the show. And so I was really thinking about like the idea of them bringing back Cad Bane, because I can't remember the last time Cad Bane, I think he was arrested in the Clone Wars, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
And so there was also a unused episode from the Clone Wars, like a unfinished one, where Cad Bane was training Boba Fett. And I feel an avenue, and there could be an avenue of the show where they might retrofit some old Clone Wars episodes into being part of this show, like change the time period. Because there's also another Bad Batch episode that never got made. There's a Bad Batch episode where this is after Echo's part of the group, and they're on Kashyyyk, and they're fighting alongside Chewbacca against the droids, and they're riding like giant monkeys, whatever. But,
oh, hell yeah. That sounds great.
But I feel like something like that, I don't know, it can't be literally translated, though. I guess in the trailer you do see them fighting like droid armies still, so maybe, I don't know.
I do think, I think the first however much of the show will still take place if before Order 66, or them still being a part of the Empire. Although like pretty much all the fights after Order 66 ended, right? Like the Trade Federation, the Separatists, like the battle droids were pretty much shut down. So
did they shut down the droids, or did they shut down the droid factories?
Oh yeah, well we know there's still like rogue droids. Like there's episodes of Rebels where
Rebels,
and they find like small sort of rebel armies of droids who haven't realized that the war's ended or won't acknowledge it.
That was a great,
and it'll be, speaking of Rebels, it would be interesting to see if they bring in, I mean, this is going to take place quite a few years before Rebels, but if they bring in younger versions of like the crew of the Ghost, or anyone we've kind of come to love from that show, or same thing with Jedi Fallen Order. Like if we learn about any, I don't think Cal's going to be in this show, but if they bring in any of the side characters, or any of the, with the Night Sisters, or the Imperial Inquisitors. So yeah, I think there's a lot of avenues it could go, including what was the name of the group in Solo that Paul Bettany and Darth Maul and all of them were a part of? The Dark Brotherhood. Brotherhood of the Sun.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
Well, because they
Crimson Dawn.
Crimson Dawn.
Yes,
that's it. In one of the episodes of the last season of the Clone Wars, Maul is talking to other members of the Crimson Dawn, like via holograms, and they have a hologram of that Paul Bettany character, and I'm kind of like,
he doesn't say a word.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, if you're gonna like, you have this character played by now like a huge Disney actor, especially after WandaVision, like it'd be cool to see that character in animated form. I don't know, or something, because Solo wasn't a great movie, but I think there's a lot of interesting ideas in it that I'd like to see.
Sure, yeah.
Further explored. Yeah.
I'm cool with exploring them within this show, because I think, like Omar said, I think the way they're going to make this interesting is just putting the clones in, putting the Bad Batch, I should say, in increasingly like more out there in the galaxy settings. Mm-hmm. So they may not be like the whole linchpin of the show. It may just be like the Bad Batch traveling around and seeing a new fun location that you might recognize from another show. Because I think I saw that there was like a big scrapyard, which is, I don't know if it's the same scrapyard from Jedi Fallen Order, but if it is, that would be cool.
Yeah. I think they could do something as simple as going, like in the same way that I keep bringing up Marvel shows, I'm sorry, but like in the same way WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier went to Madripoor, which is a location that X-Men fans and Marvel fans are familiar with, and everyone's like, oh, it's Madripoor. Like you could just go to a planet in an episode and everyone would be like, oh, it's Ord Mantell, like that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Or at least I would. I don't know. Everyone probably wouldn't. I think just weirdos like us.
I don't doubt.
Yeah,
sure
it would depend on the planet.
Yeah, that's true. If you went to Tatooine, it was like, oh god, we're going to Tatooine again.
Yeah. Like, oh my god, haven't we seen enough of Tatooine?
Wasn't there a statistic?
Tatooine lookalikes.
Wasn't there a statistic that like Mandalorian season 2 spent more time on Tatooine than the original trilogy?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the frame video I edited.
A long time ago in a very, very small galaxy far away. Just a very small galaxy.
Everything revolves around Tatooine.
Yeah. If you've ever grown up in a small town, you run into the exact same people all the time. That's what the galaxy is.
I mean, this one backwater planet on the outer rim, and so, but it's the center of all the happenings in the galaxy.
Hey, it's got 2 suns, so it's got something going for it.
It's
also,
got 2 suns. It's always party
really
time.
it's really easy to make a 3D model of desert dunes. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Why do you think they revisited that and made a Tatooine lookalike called Jakku for the sequel trilogy? They didn't want to make it Tatooine
Yeah.
again because that would be too on the nose.
They should have just called it Tatooine again. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
No one would have
Literally called it Tatooine again.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
That
would have been fine.
Tatooine 2.0.
Tatooine 2.
Tatooine to Tatooine.
Tatooine.
See, we're onto something. So yeah, that'll probably wrap up this pilot episode of Escape the Galaxy. Like we said, we're going to have a new episode the day after every episode of The Bad Batch airs. So the first extended 70-minute episode of The Bad Batch airs on Disney Plus on May the 4th. We'll be recording that day, and it should be live the following day on May 5th. And then the second episode of The Bad Batch airs on Friday, May 7th. And so our episode should go up Saturday, May 8th. And then that Friday, Saturday cadence should be the rest of the season. We don't know how long the season's going to be. If you were trying to do some like bar napkin math, I believe Loki premieres on Disney Plus on June 11th. And so if they didn't want Star Wars to overlap with Marvel, there would be 7 episodes of The Bad Batch. But also there was some rumor, or there was an interview with one of the composers, and he said he was working on episode 14 at the moment, which is twice as many as 7. So we do not know yet, but we will be here as long as my failing computer allows us to.
Aww.
Yeah. No, it hasn't failed. It's been great, this recording, and we're gonna
Nice.
And
Go
this
Marty's computer.
I know it's working hard, and this whole show is a work in progress. We're gonna be ironing out the kinks. I'm gonna be getting a new computer. It's gonna be exciting. We welcome your feedback on this YouTube video, or you can reach us all individually. I am at McBiggity on Twitter. McBiggitty. You can find my work on The Escapist. Nick and I, our editor-in-chief, we just put up our review impressions of the game Returnal, which is kind of like Star Wars, except you're caught in a time loop and is way too difficult. And
spaceships.
Then, no spaceships. And then we're also going to have our impressions next week on Resident Evil Village, so look for those.
Yay.
Rachel?
I am Rachel Kaiser, and you can find me on Twitter at Rachel Kaiser, so that's RachelKaser, all one handle. And that's where you can find pretty much everything I ever post, which is mostly columns for The Escapist. And unfortunately, I don't get to do impressions yet on The Escapist, but that's probably for the best, because if you put me on Resident Evil Village, I will be bringing up stuff from like way back in Resident Evil lore. So that's probably for the best. But in the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at my handle, and anything that I put up is going to go through there.
Cool. Omar?
I'm Omar Ahmed, and you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Yomars. That's MRYOMARZ, which I should probably start using again since I'm advertising it now. I probably haven't tweeted in 3 years or something like that. But
You're like, your last tweet was, oh God, this waiter at the Alamo didn't serve me a drink on my birthday.
Get with the times, Omar.
oh, I'm sorry. I got bullied into tweeting again.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find my work here on The Escapist, as I said, In the Frame and The Escapist Show and the documentaries. I'm working on the upcoming Spiritfarer documentary at the moment, so look forward to that.
I am so excited for that one. So genuinely excited. Spiritfarer was one of my favorite games of last year, and I know Nick's already done a bunch of interviews with those guys, so I cannot wait for that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. That'll do it for our pilot episode of Escape the Galaxy. Again, we'll be back breaking down the first extra long episode of The Bad Batch on the day after it airs on May 5th. So for Rachel and Omar, my name is Marty, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
May the Force be with you.
Aw, it's the Star Wars line.
I
Oh my
know.
God, you said the thing.
Someone had to
You said
say
the
it.
thing.
We did it.
Someone had to
I
say
have
it.
a bad feeling about this show.
Ah, that's the other Star Wars line.
No. You don't put that out there.